when was that pivot for you of, obviously music has been in your life for a long time, but when did that pivot occur where you thought, okay, no, this is the direction I want to head in, as opposed to just this thing over here that's helping me kind of, make some money on the side?
It's like, in some ways, because I was doing it on the side, I always took it seriously in some ways, but I always was like, like my parents are artists. I was like, I'm not really gonna you can't ever, I don't want to be, wacky like my parents. I want a real job. So I was doing it as a job, but I was always like, I was always gigging, but I kind of always working on it and getting better at it, but always being like, nah, but I'm gonna get a real job.
Yeah, it was kind of at arm's length.
Yeah, and so I feel like though, then I, after college, I had a couple of different jobs. I was like a bike messenger and on different things. I worked in marketing for like 6 weeks. But then I got this job finally doing something I really wanted, which was research, because I would mainly want to do history. Yeah. And so I got this historical research job for this documentary film company, and they work with PBS on this show. And I was doing that for like 2 years, I think. And I was gigging, but at the same time I was dating this jazz guitar player, was singing more and more because I'd gone to jazz school in France and like had come home from that and was like into it and still singing and gigging. And I remember I just hit a point where I was like doing well in my job, but I was like, it was like, 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, 5 days a week. And then I was gigging most nights, and it was like, I'd be in the bathroom of our office, like, going from office clothes to like a silk dress and like putting on makeup. And everyone thought I was like, they're like, Meg, so crazy. Cause I would always like, everyone else would like lounge in the office and chill. And I was always like, I gotta gig. And it was just getting too crazy. And I was kind of like, I gotta like, am I doing this or am I not doing this? Yeah. Like I was like, that was the point. I was like,
either commit or no.
I was like, I'm making good money, but I'm also like doing 2 jobs at once. Yeah. I'm like literally working the amount of hours of 2 different jobs at one time. And so that's when it was. I think that was like 2000. I know when I graduated college was like 2012. So that was probably like 2014, 15, something like that. And I finally just, cause I could quit my job. Cause I also hit a point with that job where it was like, couldn't really stay at the level I was at. It was like, if you're going to stay in the company, it's like either become an associate producer or like you step down, because it's just like you don't want a researcher to just be there forever. So it's kind of like,
even if a huge portion, or at least a decent portion of your income was coming from music, did it still feel scary to make that change, to think, okay, I am going to let this go and go down this path?
It didn't, because I waited. I do this with most things, and sometimes it's to a fault, because on the way in it like hurts, but once it happens it's good. But like I did it until I didn't want to do it anymore. Mm-hmm. So like I kept the security, because I think also like since I didn't grow up with like any money or whatever, like with artist parents, like I've always been aware of like, well, I don't really want to like be smart with money, and so I waited until I was like absolutely like kind of sick of doing that job. Mm-hmm. I was like kind of not into the PBS world. Like it was too pretentious and like, I just was like, and I didn't like TV. It's like I did it enough where I was like, I don't want to do TV. And I also made, I did the math of like, if I stayed in an office job, how many hours a week I would be in an office versus how I wouldn't. And I was like, I'm not gonna spend most of my living life in an office. Totally. And so that was, it was easy. It was like, cool. It was all just like money. It was like, okay, cool. That's making more money. That's less hours of the day in an office. And I don't like TV, so cool. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But that's how I've always done things. Is like kind of, I walk until it's like,
until you get to that point where you just can't anymore. Yeah. I think there's certainly something, there's certainly something to say about that. I mean, that can be a scary time for people to make that leap, and sometimes you do it at different points in life. It's not always a one and done thing. So I'm always just interested to hear how people deal with that, because for some people it's like the sky is falling, and for other people like yourself, it's maybe more of an incremental thing until you just get to that point where you think, no, this is what I'm going to do, and it doesn't feel like such a leap. If you like that clip, check out another one, and while you're at it, subscribe to one of our channels or both of our channels.